Okay, everybody, welcome back. I am one of your hosts, SchwarzTKD.
And I'm LegendbyDesign.
And we are here for a returning episode of Slapcast after a bit of a break because I was out of town. Not important. What's important is I just got back from seeing Power Rangers. And oh my god. It was the best possible way to do a reboot. Or a restarting of a franchise, whatever word you want to put to it.
Mm-hmm.
And it made me want to talk about that as a topic for this podcast. Now, Legend is not a fan of Power Rangers, whereas I have seen literally every iteration of Power Rangers. So this is going to be interesting. We're not just going to talk about the movie, because that'd be basically me talking for an hour and him making noises on occasion.
Making noises, tweeting, all that stuff.
Yep. So we're going to mix it up a bit with some of the other reboots that have come out recently or coming down the line. And just, as always, just wherever we end up taking the conversation. So real quick, the Power Rangers movie is based off of the original Mighty Morphin. And Power Rangers, you probably don't know this, man, but Power Rangers is a completely American creation. They use the footage from the Super Sentai shows from Japan, but everything else that's outside of the Ranger suits and all the dialogue that happens in the suits, that's all the American creation. And it's also why, like in the classic Mighty Morphin, Rita and her minions would have such strange scenes because they were locked into what the footage was. So it's always interesting seeing how that plays out for me. But this movie blew my mind. I mean, when the first previews started coming out months ago, I was not enthusiastic because from the initial previews, it looked like they were just going to give it the Nolan treatment, which is why I'm not fond of Batman vs. Superman and a lot of the DC movies, because more and more movies are saying, oh, if we just make it dark and gritty like the Chris Nolan Batman movies, that's all we need to do to be successful. No! You still need to make a solid movie. And that's what this was. This was, and when I saw the more recent trailers where they showed some of the fight scenes and they showed the Zords, admittedly, once I saw the Zords, I was just going to give them all my money. But when I saw the fight scenes were going to happen in bright, open environments where you could see the colorful costumes and what they were doing for the fights, it's like, yes, that is what you should be doing with this franchise. So the movie ended up being, I don't even want to call it a reboot. I want to call it a modernization. And because they did a lot of very smart decisions. Some of them were pretty obvious, like don't make the black kid the Black Ranger. They changed that up. They still have a very diverse cast, but instead of the black kid be the Black Ranger, the Billy, the Blue Ranger, is played by a black actor named RJ Seiler. I'm going to mispronounce all the names, by the way.
Get good, son.
RJ Kyler, something like that. The Black Ranger is played by Ludi Lin, who, at least his character, is Chinese. And that way the Asian character is not the Yellow Ranger. So they made a lot of really smart decisions. Beyond that, though, in the classic Mighty Morphin, in the 90s, all you needed for archetypes was the jock, the pretty girl, the artist, the nerd, the cool kid, things like that. And that hid your archetypes for a kid's show. That was fine for the 90s. We've moved past that.
In some ways. In some ways.
Well, ideally we move past that. And if we haven't, we should be showing that we can, so that kids growing up today have better examples. In this movie, one of the Rangers is gay. Something that has literally never happened in 16 different iterations of Power Rangers on television. The Blue Ranger, who in the classic Mighty Morphin was the nerd, in this movie he's autistic. Not severely so. He can still get by, but he has some autistic tics, such as how he speaks and how he has to, for example, line up his pencils. And it shows. And they don't treat either of those things as something that the character needs to get past. I mean, the fact that one of the Rangers is gay is acknowledged, moved on. Because, I mean, come on, we're in 2017. We don't need to... Whereas in Beauty and the Beast recently, in the live-action version, LeFou is gay, and they spend most of the movie making jokes that would have happened on a 90s sitcom about a gay character. Like, really? There's a difference there. For Billy being autistic, it was really impressive because I've seen movies and TV shows where, this character has a disability other than something like being wheelchair bound. They have the term in Hollywood is a pretty disability, one that can be used to show something a character struggles with, but is not immediately visible. So, and then usually in a movie like that, The King's Speech is an example, where in The King's Speech, he stutters. That's a pretty disability in terms of Hollywood. In this movie, they don't treat Billy's autism as something that he can get stronger and overcome. They simply work around it, the way that in real life you would have to. So it was so fucking refreshing to see all that. So they set up the movie. Town of Angel Grove, where the original show takes place. And yes, they had things where like, these aren't your typical Ranger teenagers. They're angry, they're troubled, blah, 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 blah. That was the setup that brought these kids together and led them to discovering the coins that would turn them into Power Rangers. Once they got through their training montage and everything, and they actually put on the suits, the whole tone changed. And it was a gradual build to begin with. It went from, no, we're not doing this, to, all right, we don't have a choice. Rita is coming to destroy not just our town, but the world. So let's do a training montage so we can stop her. Some shit goes down, and then they finally morph, and I'm going to avoid major spoilers in terms of, like, the major story beats, but there will be, obviously, some spoilers.
By the way, spoilers.
So, when they do finally put on the suits for the third act of the movie, they fucking embraced the inherent campiness of Power Rangers. And that's what you need to do. Again, the reason Batman vs. Superman flopped for a lot of people was because it was trying too hard to be something it didn't need to be.
I still don't think you have grounds to talk about that because you haven't seen it.
I use it as an example because a lot of people are familiar with it.
Okay.
Yeah. Well, and then with Rangers, they're fighting the putties, and they're making silly puns as they're fighting. Like, one of them kicks the head off one into another and shouts, "Heads up." Things like that were overflowing in the original show, to the point of, like, even I couldn't stand it, and I love puns. They worked in Rita making the classic "Make My Monster Grow" as she's forming this giant version of Goldar. It worked so well. And then there were the little Easter eggs. Like, again, this is the town of Angel Grove. During the big fight where the townspeople are fleeing, one of the Rangers' dads is driving into town to try to find his son. And he's on his phone, calling his kid's phone, leaving a message saying, "Where are you? I'm on the corner of Mariner Bay and Reefside." Those are two other Ranger cities. So there were the little Easter eggs, and then there were the big continuity nods, and it just came together so freaking perfectly. Even the Megazord, because when I first saw the Megazord in previews, it didn't look like the classic Megazord. It didn't look like this one turned into the arm, and you can still see it's clearly the saber-toothed tiger Zord. Instead, it looked like you could see the mix, but it looked more generally humanoid. But it looked better because of it. It was freaking great. It absolutely blew my mind. Rousing endorsement. Go see it.
Sweet.
Yeah. I kind of blew through all the things I wanted to mention. One last thing. So Rita Repulsa, played by Elizabeth Banks, you will not even realize it's her. She just blew it out of the water. She chewed the scenery better than Shatner ever could hope to.
Yeesh.
Which, if for those of you listening who are familiar with the original show, Rita was a very boisterous character. And Elizabeth Banks brought it home. It was so impressive. So from there, let's talk about other reboots, other things.
Yeah, I'm trying to think of the recent ones I've seen. Well, I haven't seen this one, but the Voltron on Netflix.
That's a really good one too.
Yeah, I haven't seen that one.
I also strongly recommend that.
I know Mike likes it a lot.
I really enjoyed it. It was, well, again, it was very well done. It was, let's take those things about the original show that made it enjoyable, filter out all the unnecessary fluff, that was common in the time it was made, and just streamline it. And it becomes stronger for it. You don't have, instead of caricatures, you have characters. Early versions of the Rangers, they were definitely caricatures. And then later on, when you get those same actors and they can finally get a chance to do something else with their characters, you actually see them become characters.
Sure.
Yeah.
They also have the original Voltron on Netflix now, the 1984 one.
Yeah.
I saw that. I've seen very little of that.
Yep.
And that was years ago.
Now, is it the Voltron with the 5 lines still? Because there's a few different Voltrons.
Yeah.
Okay.
I think so. Yeah, I'm positive.
Okay.
Yeah, 1984. Oof.
Yeah, it...
Oof. Oof. That was a while ago. Voltron. Well, Voltron, yes. They remade Daredevil as a TV show, as a possible movie.
Yeah.
That was pretty well done.
That counts as one.
Yeah.
In some ways, Batman vs. Superman is a reboot to move away from the Nolan films, because he's not the Nolan Batman.
Yeah.
Right.
Although I do like the Justice League previews that I've seen, just the principal photography or whatever. I like the. I do like Ben Affleck's Batman. His suit. I like Ben Affleck's Batman. I think him and Jeremy Irons as Alfred were the best parts of Batman vs. Superman.
That's definitely what I'm hearing. Gal Gadot as well for the few scenes she had.
Gal Gadot, yeah.
Yeah.
Gal Gadot?
I mispronounce things. Leave me alone.
A and I are different sounds.
Moving on.
No.
Moving on.
Okay. That said, I'm actually really stoked for Wonder Woman.
I am too, actually.
And Chris Pine is in it. That's going to be entertaining.
He's fun. I like him more as a voice actor because he can emote really well. He just doesn't.
Pine?
Yeah, he just doesn't typically show that he's emoting. Like in the Star Treks, he doesn't in his face. He doesn't have the emotional range that he's projecting. Whereas then you see him as a voice actor. Rise of the Guardians, he voices Jack Frost. Mm-hmm. Incredible range in that movie. Yeah. So he has the range. I just don't know why. I'm not the only one who thinks this, that he can come off as wooden.
Yeah. There are a lot of characters in that regard. There are a lot of actors in that regard. I don't think John Wick's not a reboot.
No, that was just a sequel.
That's just recent.
Yeah. Well, Wonder Woman, you look at the classic, was it Linda Carter show?
I don't know who was in that.
Yeah, I believe it was Linda Carter.
In the 70s.
I'm going to double check Wikipedia, but I'm reasonably certain it was Linda Carter.
I believe you.
Yeah.
I mean, you don't have to prove anything to me.
Well, no, I'm just checking because I just want to make sure.
You're genuine.
Yeah, I want to make sure I'm not misquoting.
Pardon me.
Exactly.
Bourbon.
But yeah, that movie. Linda Carter.
Linda Carter.
Yeah.
Okay.
So that upcoming movie, I actually have hopes for that one. I really want to see a good DC movie. Yeah, I like DC just as much as I like Marvel. And from what I've seen from the trailers, that one has potential. I saw an interesting review from, not a review, more like his not perspective, but his thoughts on what it might end up being. Basically, I'm blanking on the word that I'm looking for, but expectation, what he's expecting they might be doing, and that because it's looking more and more like Ares is going to be the villain for that That's fine.
That's cool.
Yeah, they've done that before.
Classic
for her.
Wonder Woman villain.
Yeah, it works perfectly. Absolutely, I have no issues with that. He has this guy Movie Bob. He has a suspicion that what they might end up doing is making Ares her father, and making it about a overcoming sins of the parent kind of thing. The two big reasons he thinks that would be a disservice to the character is, one, they've done that so often with other DC characters alone, never mind other superheroes like the Incredible Hulk. Mm-hmm. Yeah. So we've seen that narrative time and again. More importantly, that has never been Wonder Woman's narrative. It doesn't need to be. Her whole thing is that she doesn't have a father.
She never needed one.
She never needed one, exactly. And the whole thing, not a lot of people know this, her creator of the original comic character, I forget his name, was in an open relationship with his wife and his secretary. Mm-hmm. The three of them were open and together about it. All three of them had PhD level knowledge and education in psychology. They were also all very fond of bondage. Typically, the two of them dominating him.
Neat.
Explains a few things about the lasso and the cuffs. Yeah. So their whole goal from the outset for Wonder Woman.
Why do you know that?
I know a lot of things.
Why do you know that specifically?
Actually, that one was
spell bondage.
The same.
I'm kidding. I don't need that.
The same movie reviewer did a retrospective episode about Wonder Woman and her origins. Okay. So he discussed that. And that's also why she has such a convoluted history, mm-hmm. because the company was constantly trying to reinvent the wheel with her and explain away this ridiculous backstory of the Themyscira and the Amazons and the island and everything. And none of the changes ever stuck for a huge amount of time. And I think the 60s she didn't even have powers. It was basically a spy thriller kind of comic.
Huh.
Yeah. And then they were like, no, this is not working. We're going to do a basically crisis level flash reboot and give her powers back.
Hey.
Yeah. So, I mean, I think for Wonder Woman, you don't need to explain her powers. She doesn't need to be a demigod. Just let her have her story and let her take down Ares because it's the right thing to do.
Sweet.
Yeah, that'd be the smart thing.
Well, another reboot, potentially. The Flash.
Well, the Flash in the movie is going to be different than the TV show.
No.
Anyway.
The Flash, 2014 Flash is a reboot of 1990 Flash.
Oh, yes.
Yeah.
John
Wesley Shipp, who is in both.
Yeah, the whole Arrowverse thing anyway, yeah.
You know, season 2 through 5 of Arrow got 100% on Rotten Tomatoes.
Really?
Yeah.
See,
critics love it. I don't know. I just find that, so amazing.
Right.
I have no real strong feelings about Arrow. I like Arrow. Yeah. I will watch Arrow. I don't mind it. I like Flash. I've never seen Supergirl.
I love
Not
Supergirl.
Opposed to it.
Yeah.
Not opposed to it.
Just haven't gotten to it.
Yeah. Melissa Benoist. She's,
She's phenomenal in that.
She's gorgeous.
That too.
And Legends of Tomorrow, I have no interest in seeing.
Don't
to
bother.
Be perfectly honest.
Oh God, I regret watching it.
I'm just like, whatever. Just whatever. I mean, they have their own style. They have their own thing. I'm okay with that. I just don't care.
Yeah, and it's not even a good thing. It's such a. There's some good episodes for Legends, but usually it's just a hot mess.
Yeah.
So you mentioned Rotten Tomatoes. Something I'm going to go into more detail in our next one when we talk about Iron Fist. But you were talking a while back about how Iron Fist is getting panned by the critics.
Yeah.
But
I found it enjoyable.
See that, and that's the thing. Fans are enjoying it. And I'll go into more detail in our Iron Fist episode.
Yeah, certainly. We'll save that for the Iron Fist episode.
Just talking about, you mentioned Arrow is getting 100% from critics on Rotten Tomatoes. This is why I don't like going to Rotten Tomatoes, because I don't know what it is about how they weigh their review scores, but it never seems to reflect how I'm going to feel about something.
Well, they're always looking for something different. The critics look for different things than the casual.
True.
And if they meet certain criteria, they'll throw up 100. That's the way I understand it, and I may be vastly oversimplifying it.
Not entirely, no.
But I have a very good hunch that they don't use some complex algorithm that they don't even need to watch the show. That just like, oh, how many people are still watching Arrow? This many? Holy shit! Yeah, give that guy 100. But they, at the same time, they gave Logan a 91, 92. I think the highest I saw it at was 95.
Yeah.
And I thoroughly enjoyed Logan too. So
I know a lot of critics who they do just walk into a movie or a video game or whatever with a checklist, and if it checks off the boxes, they give 5 out of 5 or 7 out of 10 or whatever. There are a few, the ones I focus on watching, who actually will explain why something either works or doesn't work, and whether they love it or hate it, regardless of whether it works or not.
Sure.
Again, Movie Bob. I keep plugging him, but that's because he's a solid critic, and he doesn't pander. He doesn't pander to the audience, but he also doesn't pander to whatever he's reviewing. Excuse me. Yeah, like Arrow, for example, is getting 100% on Rotten Tomatoes, but Arrow is a flaming mess.
In your opinion?
In my opinion.
It's an important... I don't disagree with you.
That's fair.
But it's always good to put that on there, and I make that same mistake a lot.
Yeah.
Like, Team 4-star is shit. Like, then things along those lines.
That's not an opinion, that's a true fact, by the way.
Ooh, zing.
They don't listen to us.
Who gives a shit?
Not yet.
Shout out to Team 4-star.
Hashtag. Nope, not going to say our hashtag. That's
my hat.
Yeah. We're not burning that bridge quite yet.
But
the late night podcasts are fun.
Yeah. And I've had some bourbon, so I'm a little punchy.
And I'm just still hyped up from Power Rangers. Ooh, yeah, that was one more thing. They did bring in the classic Go-Go Power Rangers theme song once, and it was the timing. They gave it like this. It was like a modern rock remix version of it. And the moment they chose to use it could not have been more perfect.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not even going to say it. It just, if you listen to this podcast and you go watch that, or if you've already seen the movie, you know what I'm talking about. It was so freaking perfect. Yeah.
Awesome.
But, going back to Arrow. So, in my opinion, Arrow's a freaking mess. Because at this point, they're still doing the flashback storytelling, which, quite frankly, bored me back in Season 1. Now we're in Season 5. They've had flashbacks in episodes in Season 5 to things that were apparently happening in Star City in Season 1. The flashbacks have come full circle. That means you can stop doing flashbacks. Yay. It's over. You've reached the point of the circle has closed, is what I'm trying to say. Yeah.
You summed it up pretty well when you said that it came full circle.
Yeah. But they're still going with it. And the only reason they're still going is because they've built these other shows around it now. And the number of times they write themselves into a corner in Arrow, or in Legends, or in Flash, is just getting more and more ridiculous. Like, I still watch Flash, but my favorite of the 4 is Supergirl, and that isn't even because of the show. The show is, quite frankly, getting worse. Melissa Benoist and a few of the other cast members are why I watch the show.
Yeah.
Because even when the writing is terrible, they are dedicated to it. And that can compensate for a lot.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think a lot of it comes from a dedicated fan base.
That's true. That's definitely why Arrow is still sticking around. That's why Supernatural's sticking around.
Supernatural.
Oh, we're going there, friends.
Oh, man. Supernatural.
Yeah.
I mean, all the best to, Jensen Ackles and Jared Padalecki.
Misha Collins.
And
anyone else you want to name.
Mark Shepard.
Yeah.
Yeah, they're all fine actors, man.
And they still deliver solid performances. Again, they are still dedicated to it. That covers a lot. But the show itself is just, I can't.
Hey, man.
Yeah.
Man's got to eat.
Yeah, no, that's true. Absolutely.
I mean, you got to respect people who are dedicated to their job enough to keep showing up every day.
That's true.
And especially in entertainment when TV shows, for example, can be pulled off the air at any time.
Yeah. Going back to going back to Rangers, so every different version of Power Rangers uses a different Japanese Super Sentai series as its base. Now, originally, back with Mighty Morphin, up through the first 5 different versions of Sentai footage. The reason, like, the first air quotes season of Power Rangers is so long is because when they ran out of footage, they would just manufacture a reason to explain the new Sentai footage. So the cast would carry over until they needed to retire a cast member and rotate someone new in, things like that. Later on, even when it stayed in one production company, like when it stayed with Disney through over half a dozen versions, they were like, okay, new Sentai footage, new show. Completely new cast, new everything. So there's been a lot of different actors who have worn the suits over the years. Some of them have loved it from the get-go. Some of them have have faked it really well, and some are just phoning it in. One of the newer ones, Power Rangers Samurai, which it actually is, I think, the first one that went from Disney over to Nickelodeon. Terrible. Unwatchable.
Oh, man.
Yeah, and like a lot of times they'll get child actors, like the monsters will come in and cause mischief or mayhem, and they'll have these little child actors who aren't even flashbacks of the Rangers, because they do that as well. And those actors are even worse. They'll have these little kids who, they don't even sound like they're reading off the page. They sound like someone's beating them over the head with it. It is that bad. And that's not even covering the Rangers themselves, who are just terrible in that one. I'm sorry, but you had one job.
Yeah, well.
But then you get ones like Ninja Storm, Dino Thunder, a lot of the original crew from the first few versions, who are so into what they're doing that they could practically leap out of your TV.
Oh, shit.
Yeah. You need that. You need that in something. And
true that.
To bring it all the way back full circle to the topic of the podcast, especially if you're doing a reboot. Because you have to have that energy.
Yeah.
You could have the greatest film or TV show or whatever you're doing.
Yeah.
But if you don't have that energy, if you don't have that drive, no one's going to want to watch it, because the new people aren't going to give a shit. And the folks with nostalgia are going to be pissed off.
You know, going back to the Flash a little bit, I think they did that in that regard. I think they rebooted it pretty well.
Yeah.
Like, they had John Wesley Shipp in both, where in this one, in the original 1991 that lasted one season, he was Barry Allen. He was the Flash.
Right.
But now he's, he was a couple of characters.
Yeah.
He was Barry's dad.
Yep.
He was Henry Allen.
And now he's Jay Garrick, Flash from another world.
Right.
Yeah, and he's great as Garrick.
Yeah.
He's fantastic.
He's awesome.
Grant Gustin is awesome as Barry Allen.
Yeah, dude.
He is again, one of the few reasons why I still watch some of these shows is specific cast members, and he brings it home so consistently.
Yeah.
Yeah. Another example of a reboot, Doctor Who.
Yeah.
Now that's less of a reboot and more of a continuation, but because of the big gap in time, it might as well be a reboot.
Sure.
For me, I had absolutely no knowledge of what Doctor Who was. I was sitting in my dorm room. I was channel surfing. I don't even know how I ended up on it. Right as the episode was starting, it was the first episode with Rose and the Ninth Doctor, Eccleston, who for me is just always going to be my personal doctor, because he's the one who got me invested in the series. And it was one scene about not even 10 minutes in, but I was like, you know what? I'm in.
Yeah, I'm good.
I'm good.
Let's see how this goes.
He didn't even show up for another 40 fucking minutes, counting commercials, because some odd amount of time, huge chunk of the episode before he showed up again, because then it had Rose, Billy Tyler, right?
Billy Piper.
Piper. Knew that was what it was.
Get good.
It had Billy Piper running around trying to investigate who this mystery man was. And in doing so, new members of the audience and the fan base got an education in who the fuck the Doctor was. They even had like some still images and photographs and whatnot of some of the more classic Doctors from the original run.
Mm-hmm. So
we got a really quick crash course. Actually, no, they didn't do that, because when he regenerated for the first time, it was a complete shock to me. I didn't know that was a thing until it happened.
Hmm.
Yeah. Like, he only got one season, but in that season, they covered everything that you need to give a crash course on Doctor Who for.
Yeah.
From Time Lords, TARDIS to Regenerations.
Yeah. I think another continuation that I like is not necessarily a canon continuation, but Star Trek Continues. Star Trek Continues is probably one of my favorite web series of all time.
Now, that's a fan one, right?
Yeah, it's a fan one.
Yeah.
Those
can be good.
Made by a bunch of... it's made by Vic Mignogna. And he plays Captain Kirk. He grew up on the original show, and he was in love with it. So when he had the ability, and it only lasted 4 seasons. It only lasted the first 4 years of the original 5-year mission. So when he had the opportunity, and Star Trek Continues to kind of finish it in his own way. Yeah. And even to the point where Gene Roddenberry's son said, "Yeah, I think my dad would consider this canon."
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, and the actors do a great job.
I love when there's... I can't think of another example, but I love when a fan project... Oh, I can think of an example. Red versus Blue.
Yeah.
A fan project that reached the point of the original creators saying, "Yeah, thumbs up. Here's what
we're giving you rights to this. Here you go."
Like Red versus Blue, it started with they fired up a multiplayer map in Halo and just moved their characters around and recorded themselves playing, and then did the dialogue on top of it.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then it reached a point where Bungie took notice and they were like, "Holy shit, you have this much of a following. This is actually pretty entertaining. Here's the character models. Go nuts."
Sweet.
Yeah, and the shit they've been able to do since then is phenomenal. Some of the best fight scenes I've ever seen are on Red vs. Blue.
That's huge.
Yeah. And that's even that's just with them moving the models around in really interesting ways. No air quotes special effects or anything extra than just the game development tools.
Sweet.
Yeah. And then that's led to things like Ruby.
Yeah.
Which the fan community on that is just going nuts. Like, people are constantly coming up with new things for it.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
I like Ruby as much as the next guy.
Kind of. This last season was a lot lighter than I was expecting. Well, not like lighter in tone, it was over much quicker than I realized.
Yeah.
I think it's because the cast was split up, so they basically told 4 separate stories, and that's why it was over so fast.
It was less story-driven, more character-driven.
Yes, thank you. Yes. Yeah, that's... Because, the previous seasons had character moments, but since everyone was centralized, they could develop the plot.
Yeah.
With everyone spread out in this season, they had to... Yeah, that's a really good point.
Yeah. Was that Volume 4?
Yeah, that was Volume 4.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Huh.
Some good closure for Ren, too. That was a badass closing.
Yeah, that was pretty sweet.
Season 3 had the best closing so far.
Yeah, that was pretty insane.
And Spread's giant fucking dragon.
What?
There's a giant fucking dragon.
Oh, yeah. That's true. It's been a while.
It has been a while. It's been over a year.
Still, though.
Yeah.
I'm just talking about me. I'm talking about it's been a while since I've watched it, and I've watched quite a few things in the interim. Like, all of Iron Fist in 3 days.
Yeah.
And I don't regret it.
No, I'm enjoying it. I'm about halfway through on that.
Yeah. I'm pretty excited I'm excited to, talk about Iron Fist.
Yeah. I will say this, going back to the critics and the Rotten Tomatoes thing. So, again, Movie Bob, my favorite critic, the reason he rated it lower is one of the things was pacing. And from the episodes I've seen, pacing's a little slower than even Daredevil, and that's kind of saying something.
Yeah.
Yeah, but we'll talk about more about that in that episode. But yeah, just talk about pacing. Again, Power Rangers movie, perfect slow build. They didn't rush it, even with the training montage. Every time they added something, the setup with them, setting up their stories, finding the coins, the training montage, and then morphing. The pacing was just great. I would have loved to see them in costume more, but they would have run out of things to do. Yeah.
Awesome.
And God, again, Elizabeth Banks was just ridiculous. Holy shit. And Bryan Cranston stuck in a wall the whole movie. Giant bleh. I swear I'm not drunk. I just can't talk.
I'm pretty drunk.
Okay, fair enough. Bryan
I'm
Cranston's
not,
face sticking out of a wall, talking at you the whole movie. It was great. It was fucking great.
Yeah, Bryan Cranston's pretty awesome.
I still haven't seen Breaking Bad.
Oh boy,
I know.
I haven't seen all of it, but holy shit, that
it's on my list.
It's crazy.
It's literally on my Netflix list.
Yeah,
it'll happen eventually.
Hassan Minhaj from The Daily Show put it a really good way. It's like watching the first episode of Breaking Bad, thinking, it's a science teacher cooking meth. Can't get any crazier. But it does.
That was kind of the Power Rangers movie.
It's just Bryan Cranston in a wall. It can't get crazier. But it does. Shit. It's like Legend of Korra. It's just a female waterbending avatar that can do anything except airbend.
It can't get any crazier.
And it doesn't.
It kinda does.
Not really.
Well, and you actually know, I'm glad you brought up Korra, because that gets us back on topic of reboots. Originally, I can't pronounce their last names, but Mike and Brian, the creators of Avatar, they did not want to do anything more after the original Avatar the Airbender series.
Yeah.
Nickelodeon approached them and said, look, we're going to do an Avatar show. We would like you to do it, but if you turn us down, we're going to get someone else anyway, because we own the intellectual property that you created. So they can do that.
Yeah.
And it happens a lot. To get Avatar created, they came up with it, they pitched it, Nickelodeon bought that IP.
Yeah.
Happens with video games, happens with books too, books that are getting...
That just happens with media.
Basically, yeah, exactly. Like, I can write a book, but if I want to get it published, I have to sell that book to someone, to a publisher.
Mm-hmm.
I could publish it myself, but then I have to do all the legwork for getting it marketed and getting it produced and everything.
Yeah, just market the shit out of it.
Yeah. So
it's not easy.
No, it's not.
As someone who started a voice acting career, it is not easy.
No.
Marketing anything, really.
Exactly.
But yeah.
So Nickelodeon offered to let them continue working on the series, and they accepted, because that way they at least wanted to maintain the tone. But
if someone's gonna ruin our shit, it's gonna be us.
Not Shyamalan.
It's not gonna be Shyamalan.
Nope. At least not again. I love how there's a joke in the Avatar fandom that that movie just doesn't exist. To the point that if you're on Tumblr and someone posts an image or a GIF from it, people will actually post on that Tumblr post, I can't see anything. Is it not loading? Did you just post a blank GIF?
Oh my god.
Oh man, or they'll be sarcastic, like, oh man, this movie looks really interesting about a character with elemental abilities. When is it coming out? They're so pissy about it. Which, granted, it's a terrible movie.
Still, though.
Well, and actually, yeah, that keeps us back on topic too. Both Korra and the live-action Avatar movie are two very good examples of how to do a reboot or a continuation and how to completely fuck it up. Yeah. Wasting the CGI, wasting the budget in general, to the point that the CGI department could not even add horns to the Fire Nation's Komodo rhinos in post-production.
Wow, that's fucked.
Yeah. That is an actual true anecdote from that movie. Some aspects I do kind of like about the movie. I did find it interesting that of having the firebenders, having the low-level firebenders especially, having to pull fire from a nearby source.
Right.
But that completely undermines them as a concept, because the whole reason they were the conquering nation in the cartoon was because they could just generate their element themselves, as opposed to everyone else.
That's true.
Yeah. Korra, the reason Korra works so well is because actually they approached it with the plan from the get-go of a more mature show. And not only a more mature cast in general, but also, not only is Korra and Friend, or not only are they older than Aang and company. What's this? Again. Oh shit, that is a great picture.
I
So
love that.
Legend just showed me a picture someone put up with that Facebook. Yeah.
Yeah, it's Facebook.
Who was the first one that was
that was Hugh Jackman.
Yeah, so it's the first part of the image is Hugh Jackman saying
if he were part of the MCU, yeah, I would play Wolverine again.
And then
the second image,
Doctor Strange, Benedict Cumberbatch. Fox, I've come to bargain.
Yeah. I figured you'd enjoy that.
I enjoyed that. Thank you for that.
Also, see the Deadpool post-credit scene on Logan?
Yeah.
Fucking hysterical.
Yeah. Well, anything with Deadpool is hysterical.
Oh my god, I can't wait for Deadpool 2.
Yeah, and again, it looks like they're doing it from the right direction. They're not just saying, "Oh, let's just." The
fucking teaser. Oh
yeah, they are being like, okay, not only what worked in our first Deadpool movie, why did it work? Whereas you get other movies like the Hangover movies, like okay, Hangover 1 is actually an entertaining movie.
I like that.
I will grant that. I don't normally like that kind of movie, but it is actually entertaining. Hangover 2 is what were the story beats that were funny? Not why were they funny, just what were they?
Right.
Let's dial those up to 11 instead of a baby, it's a monkey, and just things like that again and again and again. And that's not funny. You're not, walking in someone in the same footprints is not funny. You just sink deeper into the snow. And in The Hangover 3, doing it even more, it's just, you're not going to rebottle that lightning.
Right.
Look at why it was successful. And don't just look at, hey, that guy's wearing a funny shirt. Let me mass produce that shirt.
And granted, a lot of people will probably buy the shirt.
Right. So you'll make your money back.
Sure. So
which is what a lot of studios, that's the only thing they care about. So that's why this keeps happening. That's why we keep getting Nolan versions of movies made by people who aren't even Christopher Nolan.
Christopher Nolan presents The Hangover 4.
Oh, dear God.
I'd watch it just to watch it.
Yeah. Holy shit.
Just to watch the train wreck.
Holy shit. Pitch that.
Well, it's on the internet now.
Yeah.
I don't know what else I can do.
What would that even be? Like,
it would be Batman, Superman.
No, it wouldn't even. No, it wouldn't even be them. It would just be the same three guys, but instead of waking up and wondering what happened, like they'd wake up, like they'd be handcuffed to a dead guy instead of a missing baby. It's just a corpse, but like Weekend at Bernie's style. It would be. Oh my god, that'd be so weird. Be so surreal. I kind of want to see that.
Yep. Christopher Nolan, make Hangover 4.
Make that happen, sir.
Make that beautiful train wreck of a movie.
And it will somehow work.
Oh my god.
That would just be insane.
Oh, stupid.
No, I approve of that one.
That was, I mean, it was pretty, I'd see it because it would be stupid.
Yeah. And sometimes that's fine.
Yeah.
Sometimes I want to go to a movie and just be entertained.
Yeah.
Crank 2. Now, I had never seen the first Crank. I still haven't. I went into that one. I knew the events of the first movie, and I knew roughly what to expect. I go into that one, and there is a scene in the first 5 minutes. I'm just going to go ahead and say it. A shotgun gets dipped in oil to lube it up and shoved up a very fat man's ass while he's wearing a thong. As a method of interrogation.
Mm-hmm.
I literally felt my brain say, I'm not going to be needed here. Good night. Click. I'll see you in the morning.
Well, I guess this is as good a time to take a vacation as any.
Exactly. And because I literally turned my brain off, I enjoyed that movie.
Yeah, dude.
But I go to other movies to actually, get invested. Whether it's Arrival, which is a think piece, or, again, going back to it because I just saw it, The New Rangers, where the whole time I was watching it, I was measuring it up to all the versions of Rangers I've seen and just mentally comparing it. Everything from, like I said, the Easter eggs all the way to the appearance and the acting. And it fit. Good! Tyrannosaurus Rex sword. Always the win.
Yeah, no.
Robotic dinosaurs!
I don't care. Yeah, Horizon Zero Dawn did that.
Power Rangers did it first, but I grant your point, sir.
It's not a new concept.
No, it is not. It is not. And I will never stop laughing that people don't even call it Horizon Zero Dawn. They just Google search robot dinosaur game. I love that.
I mean, it works.
I love that.
That's a pretty wide net, actually, when you think about it.
Yeah, except apparently not, because Horizon just pops right up on the list.
No, it's a wide net to cast if you're trying to search for something, and goddamn. Because Horizon Zero Dawn, those words alone, knowing nothing about the game, you wouldn't know where to look. And then if you type robot dinosaur game and a Horizon Zero Dawn comes up, you think, oh, that's what this is about. I might actually buy this.
Yeah.
Speaking of games I'm not going to buy. I'm kidding. I'm actually thinking about... I've been measuring it up on like Twitter and other social media. I'm like, hey, should I get Overwatch? And they're all
I've been doing the same.
You've been all like, dude, you should get Overwatch. I'm like, why? He goes, just get Overwatch. And I'm like, you're not answering my question.
Yeah.
Please answer my question. But dude, Tracer. And I'm like, I don't know who the fuck that is.
I know who it is, and that still does not win me over.
Yeah, no, I put like 6 hours into the beta.
Yeah.
And it was fine. It's a fine game, but at the time, I was not invested in it.
Because I've been doing the same thing. I've been asking around, and one of the best points in its favor that I've heard is that the community is very not toxic.
Yeah, I know we had talked about this.
Yeah, the main reason I don't like to play multiplayer games is because I don't need
competitive. Yeah.
Right, I don't need someone calling me a faggot and screaming at me and saying they're going to screw my mother. Like, I don't need to... It's not why I play games. Hearing that the Overwatch community is much more reasonable and they're there to have fun. Now, that's a testament to the game itself. Because the reason Call of Duty and Halo and Battlefield tend to have very toxic communities is because the game itself is set up to be extremely competitive. And so in order to succeed and get things, the items to keep succeeding, you have to backstab people. You have to run over everyone, even if they're on your team. Overwatch, the fact that the community doesn't act that way, is actually a sign that the game is set up to be more fun than just competitive. So, I mean, that's definitely a point in its favor.
Maybe we should just start angry yelling on a Overwatch voice chat. Maybe we should just start angry yelling just for no reason.
Just come up with insults.
Just to see how
people react.
How people would react.
I would be down for that experiment.
And then we would just be like, the end of it, we would just be like, look, we were just...
we were conducting a social experiment. You all passed.
Social experiment. Yeah, that's a great way to put it without sounding condescending. I mean, it's nothing I wouldn't do, but at the same time, saying it out loud, I almost don't want to do it.
Yeah.
I'm totally going to do it.
Yeah.
I'm not going to do it.
I mean, I got a few different people who play it.
I don't want to be that guy.
Yeah. Well, the other thing, too, like, I've been looking at it, and when, like, for example, when you die, you can pick a different hero to step in as.
Yeah, like Team Fortress 2.
Yeah, so there's a lot of things about it that definitely look like they'd be good gameplay mechanics. The characters seem very balanced from what I've looked at.
Yeah.
So it doesn't matter.
I've heard one of the biggest points in its favor is the gameplay is very addicting.
Mm.
That is what I've heard.
Yeah.
That is what I got.
That too. And just, again, the community that's sprung up around it. There's so many... There's still so... How long has it been out? Over a year now, right?
No, it's been out since May of 2016.
Okay, so almost a year.
And it's still at full price.
That says a lot about how many people are playing it. If they know it's still going to sell,
I'm not going to.
Battleborn is down to $10.
Yeah, I'm not going to buy Overwatch at $60 if I can help it. I mean, if I do decide to get it, I'll break down and get it.
There are still sales. Yeah. Every now and then, GameStop throws up sale prices for it.
Oh, certainly.
Yeah.
I mean, if I can get it on PC though, too, like that would be another point where I can do that.
See, I'd almost prefer to get it on PS4 just because I know people who are already playing it on PS4.
There's a lot. It seems like, from what I can see, and I could be very wrong about this. is a lot of people play it on PC because that's where a vast majority of shooters are played. That's where TF2 is exclusively played, for example.
Yeah.
And it's just easier to play. It seems easier to play first-person shooters on a PC.
Whether you're using keyboard or a controller.
No, just because you're using your keyboard, everything is much more precise.
Oh, okay. Like you're using your mouse to track your targeting.
Yeah.
To select your targeting, and you're using your keys to turn and strafe and everything.
Yeah, and I was never really into heavy PC gaming until recently. And even then, I still use a controller, so I'm probably going to end up getting it for PS4.
Yeah.
So,
I mean, for me, I've just been using controllers for so long that it just feels more natural to use a controller, whether it's a shooter or not. Yeah.
And my brother's on the other side of that spectrum. He's been playing PC games for so long. He likes console games fine, but he's been playing PC games for so long that he prefers the bat.
Yeah, I mean, the only time
Imagine Overwatch gets a reboot.
Oh my god. How could they... What would they even do with that? How would they even...
Overwatch. The re-overing. The re-watching.
Underwatch.
Underwatch.
No.
The hentai version of Overwatch.
Binge watch, overkill.
Ooh.
Shit.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I can't poke any holes into that, per se, so...
Finally! He loves to poke holes in my theories.
Yeah. It might just be the bourbon, but... that wasn't necessarily a theory. That was a
statement.
That was a statement. That was an idea.
Yeah. And poke holes in my ideas.
I honestly could not... Yeah, I couldn't argue that. I couldn't,
So I need to get you drunk more often, is what you're saying.
Tipsy?
I can work... Hey, tipsy is cheaper than drunk.
Yeah, get me to about like a 3.5 or 4, and I'm having a good day. Right? So, I'm okay. I don't like getting that hammered anymore.
No, I've been completely shit-faced once, and even then it wasn't even all that shit-faced, because I came out of it a couple hours later.
Yes.
Yeah, you saw it. You can attest.
I was there.
I didn't even puke.
Yeah, I was there.
I was definitely drunk, but I was in...
You were 6 out of 10.
I was in reasonable control, and after a couple of hours, it was gone anyway.
Yeah, you were 5 or 6 out of 10.
Yeah.
Oh, my God.
It was entertaining. I still remember pretty much all of it.
There was a reboot, The Hangover, the reboot to the drunkenness.
Hangover 5, Hair of the Dog.
Ugh. Hangover 5, you done fucked up.
Yeah.
Hangover 6, why are we still doing this? Hangover 7, seriously? Do we have that much money?
And that's the thing, too. The problem some of these movies have, Fast and the Furious is a good example.
The most successful movie franchise of all time.
Right. Now, because they figured out not only what worked, but why it worked. First movie, pretty good. Second movie, fucking terrible. Third, fourth movie on, they're great because they weren't trying to recreate the lightning. I just like that phrase. They were seeing, okay, we are successful when we do this style of movie. Let's just do it. Let's let our cast have fun. Let's do bigger and crazier stunts every movie. And it works. Now, what's interesting is when these franchises get so big, Marvel's having the same thing. The actors age.
Yep.
So it's interesting, let's take The Hangover. Let's say they, God forbid, keep making hangover movies. Well, one, they're going to have to keep finding excuses for these same 3 characters to get completely blackout drunk. Not only not learning their lesson, but also getting older and older. Or they're going to have to work the plot in some way, as one hangover movie ends, they introduce 3 new characters during it that become the new hangover characters. Something like that. Yeah. Chris Evans is almost done being Captain America. It's going to pass to either Sebastian Stan or who plays Falcon?
Anthony Mackie.
Thank you. Yeah, it's going to pass to one of them. Probably Sebastian.
Seriously, I've had bourbon, and I can still remember the shit. You have no excuse.
My excuse is the same as always, and you're gonna give me shit for it. I am bad at remembering names. Who are you?
Every time we have a conversation like this, I can debunk it, I just don't know where to start and I get confused.
Why do you think I wrote down the cast list for Power Rangers? It's so that if I needed to, I would actually have their names.
Nobody knew them.
Well, they knew two of them, of course. Oh yeah, Bill Hader played Alpha.
Oh, neat.
Yeah. Well, voice acted Alpha, but, same difference.
Oh, yeah, he's an android.
Yeah. Yeah.
Still, though. Or robot. Androids are robots that look like humans, right? And robots are robots that look like robots.
Yeah, so he's a robot. Well, in the film, he calls himself an android. Really, an android is simply a humanoid robot. It doesn't have to look like a human. It just has to be bipedal.
Okay.
Yeah, and have two appendages and have a rough approximation of a face.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
That's basically what an android is.
Oh, okay.
Yep.
Sweet.
All right, so we have, as always, rambled and had a blast. I think we're going to wrap it up here.
Okay.
Again, go see Power Rangers. I am actually really excited for the sequel to this because they did a mid-credit scene teasing at the sequel. The way that the Rangers defeated Rita, it's a perfect setup to bring in the same villain they brought in the original show to revitalize the show. And when they introduced the Green Ranger, there's a perfect setup, and they didn't show any actor for the Green Ranger. They simply set him up that he's expected to be there, and it's looking good. I'm really excited to see what they do with it because if they approach it the same way of making a good film first, and also saying, okay, what worked in this movie? How do we carry that forward? I was talking with Armin from Comic Book Cast. We were both thinking that not only are they going to bring in Zed and bring in the Green Ranger, obviously, but now that they have the suits, they can skip the setup time. So we can have... It's much more likely that they're going to embrace the campiness. Not fully. And
maybe
not
help the Green Ranger get accustomed.
Right. Not...
Get him prepped, but not have it take nearly as long.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And which is something they did in the original show as well. They actually had scenes where that character all of a sudden had these powers. So it'll be interesting to see how they do that. And also, if they did a fully campy thing for a whole hour and a half, 2 hours, that would not be a good movie. We're in 2017. You need that balance. This is not a Saturday morning cartoon in this case. It's simply based off of one.
Mm-hmm.
I loved it. You all just heard our opinions on the various things we were talking about.
He was on drugs the whole time.
Oh, so many drugs. All the drugs. Where am I? This is not my beautiful house. This is a shitty apartment. All right.
That's not how drugs work, dude.
That's not... Okay. I don't know. I don't do drugs.
Neither do I.
Winners don't do drugs.
Yeah.
Unless they're steroids.
Tell that to Robert Downey Jr.
Oh, hey, he is clean.
He's been clean for a long time.
Yeah, so he is fucking clean.
Yeah.
And now he's Iron Man.
He got clean and became Iron Man.
Yeah.
That's pretty awesome.
Wait, does that mean I have to do drugs and then get clean before I can become Iron Man?
Yeah, you gotta be a drug addict and then get clean.
Clean up your shit.
And then you can be then you can be a movie star, superhero.
Okay.
Either one.
Good to know.
Like, everyone likes a comeback story.
Kids, you heard it here first. And we're going to close out on that note because we're both rambling and shooting off at the mouth. I am SchwarzTKD.
And I'm LegendbyDesign.
And we will see you on the next Slapcast. Dude, really?
Yeah. 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 Yeah.